New York City runs on ambition. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that moves through offices, private conversations, and financial deals most people never see. In 1953, in Brooklyn, a boy was born into an ordinary working-class family. No elite inheritance, no famous last name, no obvious path into power. And yet, within a few decades, he would be connected to some of the wealthiest circles in America. How does that happen? This is the story of the early career, the financial rise, and the strategic moves that shaped the public image of Jeffrey Epstein. No controversy, no headlines, just the path that led from ordinary beginnings into the world of money. Jeffrey Epstein grew up in Brooklyn, New York, a place filled with working families trying to build stable lives. He attended public school and lived a relatively normal childhood for the time. Eventually, he graduated from Lafayette High School, a large Brooklyn school known for academics and athletics. Nothing about these early years suggested an unusual future. There were no signs of finance, no obvious connections to wealth. Like many young people of his generation, he pursued higher education. He briefly attended Cooper Union, a respected institution known for technical and creative programs, and later took classes at New York University. But he didn't finish a degree. And in a city where credentials often determined opportunity, that should have been a major obstacle. But there was something that separated him from many others. He was strong in that business. And sometimes, in the right environment, skill can outweigh formal qualifications. Instead of finance, his first serious career move came through education. In the mid-1970s, Epstein began teaching mathematics and physics at the Dalton School, an elite private school in Manhattan. This wasn't just any teaching job. The Dalton School catered to families with influence, wealth, and access to business circles far beyond the classroom. And this is where the story begins to shift, because the paycheck of a teacher wasn't the real opportunity. The environment was. Teachers at elite schools often interact with parents who work in finance, law, media, and corporate leadership. Conversations happen, introductions happen, and for someone observant and ambitious, those environments can open doors that credentials alone cannot. For Epstein, this period placed him close to networks far removed from his Brooklyn upbringing. It was the first change in altitude. Soon after, those connections translated into something unexpected. He entered finance. Specifically, he joined Bear Stearns, one of the most aggressive and respected investment banks of its time. Wall Street in the late 1970s was intense. Long hours, high pressure, massive risk, and massive reward. For someone with no completed degree, entering this world was unusual. But once inside, experience mattered more than background. At Bear Stearns, Epstein was exposed to trading culture, financial strategy, and the mechanics of wealth. He learned how markets moved, how financial products were structured, how money at scale operated differently from ordinary income. Most importantly, he gained visibility into how the wealthy thought about preserving and growing their fortunes. This wasn't just a job, it was an education in capital. In large financial institutions, people often follow predictable paths. Start junior, gain experience, move upwards slowly. But some people treat institutions differently. Instead of aiming for long-term corporate status, they use the institution as a launch platform, and that appears to be what happened here. During his time at Bear Stearns, Epstein developed a reputation for understanding complex financial structures. Wall Street teaches a specific mindset. Risk can be calculated. Opportunity comes from access. And relationships often move faster than rules. After several years, he made a decision that surprised many. He left. Leaving a major investment bank is risky. Corporate finance offers stability, brand recognition, and predictable income. But private finance offers something else: control. Epstein shifted into private financial consulting, working independently rather than under a firm's name. This changed everything. Because private advisors don't rely on salaries. They rely on clients. And the type of client matters more than the number. If you work with everyday investors, growth is slow. But if you work with ultra-high net worth individuals, people managing enormous sums. The economics change completely. A small percentage fee on a large pool of assets can generate extraordinary income. This is where the real wealth-building potential began. Financial advisors serving wealthy clients don't just manage money, they manage trust. They help structure investments, reduce financial risk, and navigate complex financial decisions. And unlike retail finance, these relationships are often private and long-term. For Epstein, the strategy appeared clear. Work with fewer clients, but bigger ones. This approach allows advisors to operate quietly while managing significant financial influence. As his client base grew, so did his personal wealth. And with wealth came visibility, real estate, travel, elite social circles. In high finance, image is more than lifestyle. It's branding. Success attracts successful people, and wealth signals credibility to other wealthy individuals. The cycle reinforces itself. In many industries, performance alone drives reputation. In elite finance, perception plays an equally important role. The right neighborhood, the right events, the right environment. These elements create a sense of legitimacy. By the 1990s and early 2000s, Epstein was known as someone moving comfortably within elite circles. Whether through property ownership or social connections, his public image reflected financial success. And that image likely helped expand further opportunities. Because in finance, people rarely ask how you arrived, if you appear already established. When you look at the full timeline, a clear pattern emerges. Math skill, teaching position, elite exposure, Wall Street experience, private consulting. Each step placed him closer to concentrated wealth. None of these moves alone created success, but together they formed a progression. Access compounded over time, environment changed expectations, and proximity to capital created new opportunities. This pattern isn't unique to one person. It reflects how many careers in finance evolve, gradually, strategically, and often quietly. Strip away names and headlines, and several lessons stand out. First, environment matters. Where you work can shape who you meet, and those relationships can define future opportunities. Second, access multiplies value. The closer someone gets to capital, the larger the potential rewards. And third, independence changes income structure. Moving from salary-based roles into asset-based relationships can dramatically increase earning potential, if the connections exist. These lessons explain not just one career path, but a broader truth about elite finance. Power doesn't always appear suddenly. Sometimes it builds through small moves, a classroom job, a single introduction, a transition into finance, a decision to go independent, step by step, from Brooklyn to Wall Street to private wealth. That was the early trajectory. Not a story about headlines, but about positioning, access, and timing. Because in New York City, the most important moves are rarely the loudest ones. They're the quiet moves, the strategic ones. And that's how the ascent began.